Some of you will have studied yoga philosophy. Some of you will have no idea about yoga philosophy and probably find that it bores you to tears. So hopefully I'm going to bring something alive for you. So I want to read you what it says about Mula Bandha in what we call the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. Okay, and maybe we can make some sense of it. So, those of you interested. If you're not interested, you can just switch off and coast until we start doing some sweating and huffing and puffing and breathing. They're divided. The Pradipika is, or Pradipika, depending on how you pronounce it, is divided into like short little pithy verses or sutras. Okay, so these are in like short, punchy sentences. Okay, so pressing yoni, which is referred to as this is the perineum. Okay, do we know what the perineum is? Do we know what the perineum is? I'm going to talk about it, but I'm just sort of finding out where you all are. No idea what the perineum is. What is a perineum? Can I get one of those online? Okay. So, pressing the perineum with the heel. The perineum is back here, okay? So, pressing the perineum with the heel, contract up the anus by drawing the apana thus. I'll try to unravel this if this doesn't make any sense to you. Thus, Mula Bandha is made. So by pressing the heel into the perineum and drawing up the apana, this creates Mula Bandha. Does that help us make sense of it? I don't know yet. Okay. So the apana naturally inclined downwards. So apana is the subtle energetic quality that is associated with exhaling. Okay? So we talk about exhaling as being apanic in nature and inhaling being pranic in nature. Okay, this is quite important when we start to understand Mula Bandha. So apana is a natural downwardly moving energy, okay, which has a grounding, contracting, rooting, gravitational quality to it. Okay, so the apana, which is naturally inclined to go downwards, is made to go up into the Sushumna Nadi, which is the central axis of the body, the subtle line that runs all the way from down at the base of the spine to the top of the head, which you might understand as your spine on a gross physical level, but it's a bit deeper than that. So the Sushumna Nadi, which is basically the central axis on which the whole Hatha Yoga practice is done. Okay, so we take the apana, which normally goes down, and make it go up into the Sushumna Nadi by force. So it doesn't just happen all by itself. We actually have to make this happen. This is why they call it a practice. Okay, and Hatha Yoga is referred to as being forceful yoga, which is basically a form of yoga where you actually have to do something. You can't just study a book or chant. You actually have to physically do some work. Okay. This Mula Bandha is spoken of by yogis as done by contracting the anus. So some of you might have heard Mula Bandha referred to as squeeze your anus. Yeah? Blank faces. Just that time of the weekend? Or yes, no? Yeah, okay. So you're getting feedback's good. I like feedback. So.
We've heard it.
Okay, you've heard it. There we go. So they've heard it in that corner. Okay. Pressing the heel well against the anus, draw up the air, which we're going to call prana, by force again and again until it goes up. So do it again and again and again until we get this energy to go up. Okay? Prana, apana, nada and bindu uniting into one in this way give success in yoga undoubtedly. Okay? So practicing Mula Bandha gives us success in yoga. Cool. How many of us feel successful in our yoga practice? Isn't yoga practice like the opposite? It's like, I thought I knew loads of things until I came to my yoga practice and now I feel like a beginner. Anyway, so if we're looking for success in Hatha Yoga, Mula Bandha apparently is what we're talking about. By purification of prana and apana, urine and excrements decrease. Even an old man becomes young by constantly practicing Mula Bandha. Cool, huh? So if we practice Mula Bandha, we can actually defy the aging process, apparently. I can't guarantee that, by the way. Don't sue me. Okay. Going up, the apana enters the zone of fire, i.e. the stomach. The flame of fire struck by the air is thereby lengthened. So we're going to talk about lighting a fire at the center of the pelvic floor and drawing it up. Okay? And the flame of this fire is going to be what we call pure chit. Okay? Or pure awareness. So in the way, by teaching and learning Mula Bandha, we have to start looking at metaphor, and we have to be able to use our imaginations. This is really important. So if you're a literalist and you're going to start looking for your Sushumna Nadi internally, and you're going to start dissecting bodies or looking in Gray's Anatomy, you're not going to find it. Okay? So this is something, these processes and these practices are taught through metaphor and poetry in a way to try to trick the mind to moving beyond its constructs of habits and conditioning and start to experience the body on a deeper level. So we can't be a literalist when we think about Mula Bandha. And so my teacher Richard was saying, Mula Bandha is not what you think, which is why I said at the beginning of the workshop. It's not what you think. So if you think you know what Mula Bandha is, that's not it. Now this might sound like it's just like leaving students on a hiding to nothing, but in fact, the practice of Hatha Yoga backs this up. Okay? So playing and practicing Mula Bandha is a little bit like trying to catch an avocado stone. You ever tried to do that? When one flies across the worktop and you just open an avocado and it slips out. So the harder we grasp at it, the more it slips out of our grasp. So these, fire and apana, fire, flame of intelligence, and apana, the downward moving energy we've turned back upwards, go to the naturally hot prana. So prana is what we talk about as inhaling. So inhaling is pranic, exhaling is apanic. Okay? Which, becoming inflamed, thereby causes burning sensations in the body. The Kundalini, which has been sleeping all of this time. Do we know Kundalini? So I'll talk a little bit about Kundalini. I won't get too esoterical with you. So Kundalini the metaphor for Kundalini is that you have a sleeping snake coiled around the base of your spine, or the base of the Sushumna Nadi, 3.5 times, and its head is resting at the entrance to this central axis. Okay, and it's asleep. Okay, and Kundalini basically means feminine serpent. Okay, so it's a feminine energy, pure Shakti. Okay, and through the practice of Hatha Yoga, we're trying to wake it up. And when we wake it up, we get it to stand up in the center of the body. And it's said that when we do that, the whole of the central axis opens up. And we experience a moment of absolute clarity where everything merges into everything else and we see no thing. This is referred to as samadhi. Okay. So the Kundalini, which is this sleeping energy, is deeply associated with Mula Bandha. But again, you're not going to find a sleeping snake down here if you start cutting yourself open. But metaphorically, if you can start to visualize this, you can actually start to feel something, even if it's not a snake, in that area of the body. So you have to suspend your literalism when we look at our yoga practices. There we go. So, Kundalini, which has been sleeping all this time, becomes well heated by this means and awakens. It becomes straight like a serpent, struck dead like a stick. So again, the metaphor for this, if you imagine a cobra, which has been with a little flute, it rises up out of a basket. This is the energy rising up from the base of the spine. It's called Kundalini, which is the result of practicing Mula Bandha. So this is the end result. Okay. So the Kundalini enters the Brahma Nadi, which is basically this central axis, just like a serpent enter its hole. Therefore, the yogi should always practice Mula Bandha. Okay, so basically, if in doubt with Hatha Yoga, you should practice Mula Bandha. So if you've got nothing else to do, and you're sitting in traffic, or you're sitting in a workshop like this, wondering what on earth this esoterical nonsense is all about, because really you just want to get on with squeezing your anus and figuring out why it does this or why it doesn't do that, it says you should practice Mula Bandha. So it's pretty important. Okay? So Mula Bandha would be the